This section is going to be covering 3.6, which is solving applied problems using systems of equations. The first one is just simply going to ask you the translation of the statement, the sum of three numbers is 50. And then it's going to give you three different examples to choose from. Sum means to add the three numbers together. So when it gives you the three options, you would just choose the one, since it says sum, the one that adds the x, y, and z to equal 50. Now, the second one says the translation of the statement, the first number is 50 more than the sum of the other two numbers. So, that written out, the first number is 50 more than the sum of the other two numbers. Okay, so we're going to call the numbers x, y, and z. So to write this out as a mathematical sentence, just look at exactly what the statement says. The first, so we'll call the first number, we'll just call it x, is always means equals. Now, 50 more than, so 50 plus, the sum of the other two numbers. So we'll call the other two numbers y and z. So 50 plus y plus z. Now, it wants you to rewrite this equation where the x, y, and z are on the left side with the constant, which is the 50, on the right. Which means if I'm moving these two terms over to this side, I will need to subtract y and subtract z from both sides. Which means on the left, I will have x minus y minus z equals 50, because those will cancel out. Now, number three. Number three is a word problem. It says in triangle A, B, and A, B, C. So let's draw this out. A, B, C. You can name the angles any A, B, and C can go in any spot. Okay, the measure of angle B is 41, more than 3 times the measure of angle A. The measure of angle C is 64 more than the measure of angle A. Okay, so when I write this out, the first thing I need to know is the three angles of a triangle, of any triangle, are always going to equal 180. Okay? Now, if you'll notice, they do not tell me anything about A. A is always, then they tell me something about B and its relationship to A, and then something about C and its relationship to A. Because it tells me B is 41 more than 3 times A, and C is 64 more than A, which means I know B and C have some kind of relationship to A. So we'll just leave A as it is. Now, when I add, what is B's relationship? B is 41 more than 3 times the measure of angle A. So it's 3 times whatever A is plus 41. That's what is going to be representing B, right? So 3 times A plus 41. Now, what do I know about C? I know that C is 64 more than A, which means what's representing C? Well, C is however much A is plus 64. Still all equal to 180. Now, let's clean up this left side. Okay, so there's A. That one's going to be B, and that one's going to be C. But I can clean this up by combining like terms. How much A do I actually have on the left side? I've got 1 here, plus 3, so 4, plus 1 more. So altogether I have 5A plus I can also combine the 41 and the 64. When I combine that, I get 105 equals 180. So do you see what's happening here? I'm going to now be able to solve this equation for A by subtracting 105 from both sides. So now I have 5A equals 75. So when I divide both sides by 5, I now have A equals 15. Well, if I know what A is, which now I do, it's 15. I also can find out what B and C are, because what do you know about B? B is 3 times A, so 3 times 15 plus 41. That's what B is going to equal. So 3 times 15 gives me 45 plus 41, which gives me 86. So B is 86. I also can, since I know what A is, now I know what C is, because C is whatever A, it's 64 more than A. So since A is 15, I'll just write it up here, I need to add that to 64, which will give me what C is. So when I add 15 and 64, what does it give me? I get 79 equals C. And if you'll notice, if you add these 3 angles up, they should equal 180, and 15 plus 86 plus 79 does equal 180. All right, number 4. Number 4 says the sum of 3 numbers is 57. So let's look at what that looks like. Go ahead and write that out. I don't know what the 3 numbers are, so I just know that I have x plus y plus z equals 57. The difference of the largest and smallest. So now let's just say this is the x, we'll just call it the largest. We'll make y the middle and z the smallest. So it says the difference of the largest and the smallest is 53. So if I'm going to write that out, the largest and the smallest, and the difference between them, so x minus z is going to equal 53. So that represents the sentence. The difference of the largest and the smallest is 53. Then it tells me one more thing. The sum of the 2 smaller numbers, which would be y and z, the sum of these is 12. So now I know that y plus z equals 12. So now I have set up a systems of equations that I can solve to figure out what x, y, and z are. So I notice that if I add the top one to the middle one, look what will happen to your z's. Because remember from the last section in 3.5, when you're solving a systems of equations, you want to knock out one variable 2 different ways. So I'm going to choose to knock out the z by adding these 2 equations together. So when I do that, I'll have x plus y plus z equals 57. And I'll add that to the middle one. So x minus z equals 53, because when I add these straight down, x plus x gives me 2x, y plus nothing is y, my z's eliminate, and then I add the 57 and 53 together, which gives me 110. Now, I also notice, again, I want to star this one because that's one of the ones I'm going to use since now it just has 2 variables. Now, I also notice that I can add this middle one to this last one and knock out the z's again. So let's write those 2. So I'll have x minus z equals 53, and I'm going to add that to y plus z equals 12. So when I add these together, again, x and nothing is x, plus y and nothing is y. My z's eliminate, and when I add the 53 and 12 together, I get 65. So there's my other starred one. So now I need to write the two starred equations on top of each other and eliminate another variable. So I'll write these two starred equations on top of each other. So 2x plus y equals 110. X plus y equals 65. So when I write those on top of each other, I notice that the y's, just one of the y's needs to change to a minus to eliminate the other one. It doesn't matter which one that happens to, just one of them needs to be a minus. So I'm just going to multiply this one right here by a -1 on both sides, which will give me -x, -y equals -65. So now, you can kind of forget about that one. You've turned it into this bottom one. Add these together and you'll notice, again, the y's are going to eliminate. So 2x minus x is just x. Like we wanted, the y's will eliminate. And then I have 110 minus 65, which gives me 45. Now again, once you know what one of the variables is, take it back up to either one of these starred ones and replace the x with the 45. So if I do it in this second one right here, I replace x with 45, so I'll have 45 plus y equals 65, and then solve it for the y. So subtract 45 from both sides. So now I have y equals 20. So now I know x and y. Now I just need to solve for z, which means I can take this x and y numbers, the 45 and the 20, all the way back up to the top and replace the x and y in this equation with 45 and 20. So if I do that, I'll have 45 plus 20 plus z equals 57. Clean up the left, so combine these two terms together. So 65 plus z equals 57. And then to solve for z, I just need to subtract that 65 from both sides. So z equals, then I just need to have 57 minus 65, which gives me -8, which means z is -8, and then your x and y were 45 and 20. All right, last one for this section, number 5. Number 5 says, by eating 1 egg, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of pizza. So let's see, we have egg, cupcake, pizza. We'll make eggs be x, cupcakes be y, and pizza be z. So if I'm eating 1 egg, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of pizza, a child consumes 303 milligrams of cholesterol. So 1 egg, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of pizza. If I eat all of those things, it's 303 milligrams of cholesterol. The second sentence says, if the child eats 3 cupcakes, well, the cupcakes are y. So they're eating 3 cupcakes, so 3y, and 4 slices of pizza. Well, the pizza is z, so plus 4z. He or she takes in 92 milligrams of cholesterol. So 3 cupcakes, 4 slices of pizza equals 92 milligrams of cholesterol. Then the last sentence says, by eating 3 eggs, well, eggs are x, so 3 x, and 1 cupcake, so 1 y, a child consumes 845 milligrams of cholesterol. So once again, from those sentences, I have set up a systems of equations. What I am going to do is, since this one doesn't have a z, I am going to use this equation and this equation and knock out my z's, which means I need this z to be -4. So I'm going to multiply that first equation by -4. So I'll have -4 times x plus y plus z equals 303 times -4, because you have to do it on both sides. So let's see what that gives me. I'll have -4x, -4y, and -4z equals 303 times -4 gives me -1,212. So -1212. Now, I'm going to bring this equation down here. The whole point was to make the -4z to knock out the +4z. So now I'll have 3y plus 4z equals 92. And I'll add these together, which will eliminate my z's. So I'll have, bring down the -4x, -4y and 3y is -1y. My z's are eliminated. And then -1212 plus 92 is -1120. So now remember, this third equation here already has an eliminated z. There is no z, which means I can just bring down this equation here. So 3x plus y equals 845. So those are my two starred equations. I didn't even have to eliminate the z again, since it was already eliminated in the third equation. Now you'll notice, if I add these two equations together exactly like they are, the y's will eliminate now. So that's exactly what I want to do. Add those together. -4x plus 3x is -1x equals -1120. Plus 845 gives me -275. So now I'll be able to know what x is by dividing both of these by -1 to cancel out the negative. I know that x equals, that negative over a negative equals +275. Now remember, you can take this 275 to either one of the starred equations and replace the x. So let's replace it in this bottom one right here. So I'll have 3 times, now I know x is 275 plus y equals 845. So 3 times 275 gives me 825 plus y equals 845. Again, trying to figure out what y is, so let's get rid of the 825 by subtracting 825 from both sides. So y equals 845 minus 825 gives me 20. So now I know x is 275, y is 20. And that's when you go all the way back up to the top. So I'll replace x with 275, y with 20. So I have 275 plus 20 plus z equals, so again, 275 plus 20 plus z equals 303. And solve it for z. So put these together. So 295 plus z equals 303, and then subtract the 295 from both sides. So z will equal 303 minus 295, which gives you 8. So x, y, and z are 275, 20, and 8. So the egg was X, so it's the 275. Oops. 275. Y was the cupcake, and it was 20. And Z was the slice of pizza, which was 8.